What's going on with the black and Latin community right now? I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, I'm hearing black folk and I'm seeing black folk on the internet. I'm hearing black folk in real life, even out here in Houston, talking about the Latin community.
You can't choose your family. You can love them, but you can love them from a distance too. And there are a lot of my family members that I've had to learn to love from this. They call me, I'm like, yeah, I'm here. You need something, let me know. But I can't have you in my life because you're toxic. You're poisonous. And there's nothing wrong with it. People's like, what's wrong with you? You're getting away from your family. The hell with you. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm not going to do that.
Welcome to another episode of The Vision is Real, Night Vision Conversation. I'm your host, JD. Thank you for pulling up. Hope everybody's doing okay. Hope everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl, or lack thereof. I know the game wasn't too great, but, you know, the whole halftime controversy, I know that got everybody talking a little bit. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day. All y'all lovers out there. Hope y'all had a good time and not too good of a time. We'll see how many babies we get 9 months from now. But thanks for pulling up. We got a nice but a quick show tonight. Try not to, you know how I go. I try not to go too long, running my mouth. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with y'all today is something that it's been like a recurring theme in my adult life. And that is blood don't make you family. Family versus relatives. And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. Blood don't always make you family. There's a huge difference between family and relatives. I'm one of those rare people, in the black community, and I'm pretty sure in the Latin community as well. In the black community, obviously family is really important. It's a real big deal. Mothers are like a really big deal. In the black community, the matriarch, is a thing. But I was one of those rare instances in the black community where I didn't grow up too close with my family like that. I mean, when I was really, really young, obviously, I was really, really close with them. But as I got older, I realized that I was a little different from the people that were raising me and my extended family. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not judging anybody and I'm not judging my family members, but I was one of those young people that was really keenly aware from like a really young age that I was really, really different from the people that I was being raised by. So as I got older, I pretty much knew that. I pretty much figured it out pretty early on. And I started to sail, as they say, with like a black flag. I just kind of was like a solo guy. I shaped my life to be more about friends and friendship. I think friends are the family that God forgot to give you. And I was one of those people that made my life about the friends that I have. And my friends ultimately became the family that I depend on. It's not talked about enough. It's finally starting to become a conversation, especially within the black community, how sometimes family can hold you back. I think, it's funny. I don't really keep up with this particular rapper, but we see what's going on with Glorilla and her family and her sister. And we hear all these stories from, our friends and people at work about all the tough stuff that they go through with family. And I was one of those folks that was really aware from like a really early age that I'm like, man, family can really hold you back. A lot of times, family is no different from strangers that you meet in the street. And sometimes they can be even worse because family have this sense of entitlement, like, oh, okay, we blood, or, I birthed you, or we were, I'm your auntie or whatever, I'm your uncle, and so you gotta listen to me and you gotta do this. And that's not always the case. We know that's not the case, but a lot of this stuff tends to be cultural. Like I said, especially in the black community, we not really raised to, disrespect our elders, disrespect our family members. Certainly don't disrespect, mom or grandma.
Listen. growing up in my era in a Puerto Rican and black household, if I went to my Puerto Rican grandmother's house and I did not walk through those doors and say bendición abuela, I was getting my ass kicked. I was getting some type of straightening. If I walked into my black grandmother's house and it was 50 adults in that house, if I didn't greet every adult with a hug and a kiss or some type of kind greeting by saying hi, I was getting my ass kicked or I was getting some type of straightening. I don't see that no more. These kids is walking in the house and just walking past people. They not even saying bendición anymore. Like, what's going on? Like, real tradition and respect has died, like, drastically. I don't see this shit no more, and it's sad.
Or grandpa. But as you get older, like, I know a lot of people didn't necessarily, grow up the way I did or chose to lead their adult life the way I did. I would say once I kind of left for college, that's when I truly made up in my mind that, I got to really separate myself from these folks. I don't want to. And I was really young at the time, still, vastly inexperienced. So it was a little scary. But I trusted my instincts and I trusted my gut. And I was like, I got to branch out on my own and I got to find out whatever I'm missing, whatever I'm lacking that these folks can't provide to me. I got to go find that on my own. And I did, so once I left for college, I just struck out on my own path. I went back home a couple times. I think after my freshman year of college, I went back home that summer. But after that summer, I stopped going home because I realized there was nothing there for me. If anything, I would go back home and I was starting to hear from my own parents at the time, like, you sure you want to finish college? You don't really have to. You could just stay home. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? We live in the projects. This is the hood. Like, what do you mean I could just stay home? So that was one of my confirmations that, once I got home after that particular summer, I was like, I got to start out on my own path. I got to strike out on my own path. And that's what I decided to do. And I was one of those rare cases where early on I had to stick to certain disciplines and, certain things, to the letter because I didn't really have anybody else to depend on. I only had myself to depend on. It's not like I can call home if I get in trouble or get in a pickle or get in some weird situation. I could just call home because one, these people probably didn't know how to get me out of that situation. They didn't have the resources and the savvy to get me out of the situation. And I just couldn't depend on them. So I had to depend on myself. So really early on, I had to, buckle down. And that's really hard to do in your 20s because all you really want to do is just have fun and experience things. But I realized that I had to be very careful about how I moved because I didn't have anybody else to depend on really if I got into any real trouble. But like I said, as the years went on, I really started to, carve out my friendships and really make my friends like my family, which they truly are today. But it was really tough along the way. As anybody, like anybody else, I go through those bouts of, damn, I really wish I can, call my mother or, spend time with my family or do this and do that. But, that really hasn't been my path. And, I struggle with that sometimes, not as much as I used to. But I've gotten a lot better with it and I just suppress it. I deal with it and I, just keep moving on. So I just really want to tell y'all, man, especially like the young folks, especially like, within the black community, especially a lot of y'all who came from the places that, that I came from, the hood, the ghetto, and you trying to like get yourself out of it. A lot of times it's not even like those external factors that's, keeping you from moving ahead. A lot of times it's the people that you live with. Like it's the circumstances that you're growing up with inside of, your home or your apartment. Sometimes your father can be against you, your mother can be against you, your siblings can be, as we see in the media right now. Sometimes your own, siblings can be against you and, not want the very best for you. And a lot of times you may make it. And again, these folks that didn't necessarily have the same disciplines and the same drive and the same ambition as you, who didn't make it, they start to like kind of pull you down. In the black community, we call that crabs in a barrel. We've all heard that term before. And that's also something that, us who kind of made it out to a certain degree or even to an extremely successful degree, we deal with that survivor's remorse. And we got these, you know, those people, those friends, those family members back, you know, still who are in those like really, really negative situations, in those bad environments, who's just trying to pull you back. You know, it's kind of like that quote from The Godfather 3 when Michael Corleone was like, every time I want out, they just pull me back in. So I just want to, you know, I want to be that advocate. You know, I want to be that person for, like, you know, that guy, that girl who's trying to make it out the hood, make it out the ghetto. And a lot of times, what you make on your climb to the top maybe is a lot easier than dealing with the family members that are not necessarily good for you. And I know this is my experience is a very anecdotal experience. You know, a lot of times people just come from great situations, great family, great mother, great father. Everybody was supportive, and, you know, it's all good. But we all know in the Black community, we dealing with like a lot of psychological stuff that we still trying to get rid of today. And one of those things is, like I said earlier, is the crabs in the barrel mentality, dealing with, you know, difficult family members that's just trying to pull you down, trying to weigh you down. And as we kind of see in today, sometimes, you know, a mother or a father just don't want the best for their child. As crazy as that sounds, there's actual parents out there, let alone siblings and extended family, who don't want the best for their child or don't want the best for their family member. And a lot of times, you know, we around the holidays, we go to the family barbecues, we go to the family, you know, Christmas parties and the Thanksgiving dinners. And around that time of the year, we all go through that anxiety and that stress, and we only going around family. It's crazy to say this, but it's just family. There's a certain grit that sometimes you just have to grit your teeth, bite down, and be like, okay, these folks ain't perfect, but, you know, a few of these folks are there for me. You just kind of have to push it through. But I'm here to tell y'all, man, there's a lot of y'all that's going to really need to separate yourself completely. And you're going to really need to just strike out on your own, sail by your own black flag, and do your own thing. Yes, it's going to be scary a little at times. Yes, it's going to be a lonely road. Yes, it's going to be a lot of bumps and hills that you're going to go through. But I'm one of those people that's still here to tell you that there is light at the end of that tunnel. You can do it. You can do it alone. You know, you can strike out on your own path and do it your own way. And do it like I did. I'm not saying you have to do it like I did, but this is just an alternative, an option. There's another way. Like I said earlier, I truly made my friends my family, and and I hope they see this, because, you know, I really love these guys. These guys have early on, when I kind of figured out that, you know, my family, you know, could only get me to a certain, and I'm really trying to watch myself here, and I don't want to get too deep, too many details. Maybe we'll get into details at a later date once we get better acquainted. But, you know, I'm trying to, you know, keep the bodies buried, as they say. But, you know, I really love these guys. I remember really early on, you know, my boy D, you know, I would go to his house and see the way his mother treated him, and he was like the prince of his household. And I was like, damn, man, I wish I lived here. Or I would go to my boy JR's house, and I would see the way, you know, his mothers and his sisters would treat him. And I would go to my boy Raz, my boy C-Rad's house, and I would see the way his mother would treat him. And, you know, the way David's father would treat him, I was just like, damn, that just wasn't my path. And whatever I didn't have in my own house, I found in those guys' homes. So I'm here, you know, I tell these guys this all the time, but now it's recorded and now it's forever. You know, I really, you guys' friendships and you guys' families really helped me out a lot along the way. Whatever I was lacking in my own home, I found it in y'all home. And, you know, like I said earlier, friends is the family that God forgot to give you. And this is why I strive every day to be the best friend that I could be. I know I can be very annoying with y'all, always texting y'all, calling y'all, blowing y'all up, seeing what y'all doing. It's all from a place of love, because y'all are my family. So I really, really appreciate y'all. I really, really thank y'all. And y'all are the family that I created for myself. Y'all might not be my blood, but y'all are definitely my family. And I really, really love y'all, and I really, really appreciate y'all. So I just want to salute y'all, man. It's kind of wild, you know, me talking about, you know, my friends, because majority of all my friends are Latin. All them dudes are Latin, Spanish, man, you know, Dominican, Puerto Rican, primarily, especially my 2 day ones. Majority of all my friends are Spanish, and speaking of the Super Bowl earlier, we saw Bad Bunny do his thing, tore it down, gave a great performance, gave a very appropriate, in my opinion, that was a very appropriate, a very respectful performance. We live in a country where it seems like not everybody get this. We actually have the privilege to protest. It's not a right. Protesting is a privilege. You have the privilege to talk against your government. That's not the case in a lot of other countries, majority of other countries. So it was great that he gave a real respectful and appropriate performance. I really loved it a lot. I really have, as y'all kind of finding out, I have a lot of love and admiration for the Latin community, which brings me to the next topic. Like, what's going on with the Black and Latin community right now? I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, I'm hearing Black folk and I'm seeing Black folk on the internet. I'm hearing Black folk in real life, even out here in Houston, talking about the Latin community. Bad Bunny perform, like, we couldn't even understand what he was saying. It's like, who cares? Did you feel it? Like, we are vibrational and we are energy people. We are from the heavens. So it's like, you couldn't feel what that brother was like trying to get across on that screen. When did Black folks stop like appreciating the Latin community? We all grew up together, especially if you're from New York, especially if you're from the Northeast. Puerto Ricans and Dominicans are our cousins, basically. They damn near family ourselves. We grew up right next to one another. I spent a huge part of my childhood, my teenage years, growing up in Coney Island. My next door neighbors from the time I was 13 and to the time I left my parents' house when I was 18 was Puerto Rican. And like it's like I have such a synergy with the Latin community because it's like, again, we all grew up together. We all had the same struggle. They ate our food. We ate their food. I think my New Yorkers remember this play that we had back in the day called Platanos and Collard Greens. That was like that. We had like a merger with one another. And I really don't understand what's going on. I'm seeing so many Black people hating on the Latin community. And this is shocking me. And I'm hearing stuff like, oh, they stick to their own. They only stick to their own. They only stick to their family. They only help out each other. They don't help us. I'm like, what? Like, I don't understand that at all. Once again, y'all can't fool me. I grew up with y'all. I was raised around it all. I was raised around Black folk. I was raised around Latin folk. I was there. I saw it all. Y'all can't fool me. Y'all can get on the internet and these social media platforms and lie to these people all y'all want. Y'all know these folks took care of us. Y'all know these folks fed us. Y'all know they was right there in the struggle with us, with everybody else. They Puerto Rican and Dominican asses, and it was our Black asses, and we was all broke. We was all fighting to claw another day and just eat another day, and hopefully the light and the gas stay on another day. We was all together. Again, especially if you're from the Northeast. I'm hearing people from the Northeast talking like, Latin folks wasn't, come up in the same struggle with us. Like, they helped us build hip hop. Yeah, we created it, but Latin folks definitely added to it. They added to it through graffiti. They added to it through breakdancing. They added to it through their musicianship and their gifts for instrumentation. So they was right there along with us with the struggle. And I don't want to get into like a history lesson with y'all, but it's really crazy that I'm seeing so many Black folk, coming up against the Latin people right now. I'm just like, I don't understand. There's a saying, man, like that's going around right now. We used to be such a proper country. We literally used to be a proper country. And I really, really hope we get back to that. I know I've said that in previous episodes, but I really do. Latin folks, on behalf of all Black people, and yes, right now I'm speaking for all Black folks, my Latin people, whether you Puerto Rican, whether you Dominican, whether you from all, other parts of the Caribbean or Latin America, I apologize for the behavior of Black people right now. We was not raised this way. They know it. We was not brought up this way. We was brought up right along with y'all. Dignity, respect, helping a brother out, lending a hand, eating the same foods, going across from each other's apartment, like, hey, can I borrow some sugar? Can I borrow some flour? Like, raised in each other's houses. Like, I apologize. I don't know what's gotten into Black folk the last 5, 6, 7 years. Maybe it really is. Maybe it really is that guy in that big white office that really got them tripping right now. But again, I just want to apologize on the behalf of I want to apologize for the Black community to y'all. Again, we love y'all. I love y'all. Y'all were a very vital and instrumental part of my upbringing and my life. And I learned so much from y'all. I learned how to truly love. I learned what it truly means to have family support. I learned a lot from, my Puerto Ricans and Dominicans out of the Caribbean as far as, loyalty and manners and respect and pride. And I learned so much from the Latin community. I still do to this day. Like I said, majority of my friends are all Latin. That just happened by happenstance. And I truly remember when I left Flatbush, which was a primarily, just kind of all black neighborhood. There was some Latin folks there, but it was primarily all black in Jamaica. When I moved to Coney Island, I was like 12, 13 when we moved to Coney Island. And, I gotta admit, like, I was a little nerd in the hood. Back in those days, the girls all liked the bad boys, so, like, even at that age. So the first girls to show me love was Puerto Rican girls, man.
Got any just black people here tonight? The Puerto Ricans who found you. How long you guys been together?
Married 5 years.
Married 5 years. Any kids?
We got 4.
4 kids? This man does not know how to pull out at all. Slowly but surely, you're becoming Puerto Rican, dude. 4 kids. What are the ages?
Well, I came with 1.
You came with 1?
I came with 1.
Okay, your black is showing now. That's... So you came with 1.
She came with 2.
She came with 2. Yeah, that's very Puerto Rican of her.
And so they are always going to be near and dear to my heart because they are the first girls that showed me love. They were the first girls that, kind of saw past the nerd and just saw that I was like a cool guy and just a cool dude. And I really appreciate that. And obviously, I befriended, a bunch of Latin dudes that I'm still friends with today. So again, I apologize for the behavior of the black community right now. They tripping. We was not raised like that. They bugging out, and hopefully they get their act together. And hopefully by me doing podcasts like this, it'll help get them back on track somehow. Even if I'm just doing my part. But again, I apologize. I salute y'all. We love y'all community. We love y'all culture. Y'all were right there with us along the way through the struggle. Y'all continue to be there along with the struggle. Even out here in Houston, the Mexican community out here show me so much love, man. So much love. The coffee shop that I go to right up the street, Cherry Moon Cafe here in Houston. That shop owner she is from Latin America, and she shows me so much love. She gives me so much free food and so many discounts. It's like I don't know. All I've ever known is love and respect from the Latin community, man. So I really hate what's going on. I really hate that they, going through what they going through. But more importantly, like I said, as far as the black community and the Latin community's relationship right now, that needs to get back on track. Because we are, at the end of the day, we are all the same people. And like the great Laz Alonso said, the only thing that separates us all is a boat stop. We all from the same continent. We just got dropped off at different places. That's it, man. I'm going to keep it real short. I'm going to keep it real brief. Thank you for pulling up. This was a good one. Again, we rocking out. We getting a lot of support. We getting a lot of love real quick. Me and my producer over here, we're going to build this thing up. We're going to build it up organically. We're going to build it up out the mud. Like, share, subscribe, talk about it. Pull somebody else's phone and go to my channel. The Vision is Real, and just subscribe them. Even if they just a subscriber, it helps with the algorithm. Like I said, we're going to build this thing up from the ground up organically. See where we can go with this thing. Thank y'all. See y'all next time.
Difference between family and relatives. Relatives are people you just bonded with by blood. It may be by marriage, things of that nature. But family is people who value you, that invest in you. You know what I'm saying? People, you tell about their dreams and they do something actionable and you have that reciprocal relationship with. That is an action. And so that helps you break down who is family and who is relative. Sometimes it might become a short list like, damn, none of them is really family. They just related. And a lot of times you end up wanting your family to support, but They don't. That's not how it works. The people that's too close to the light get blinded by it. And so a stranger will support more because they'd be farther from you, but they see that light that you have is even touching them, and they can see how far it's going.
Today.